Hello, I'm Simon. Welcome to my workshop. Now, I was recently lucky enough to be gifted this Trend router table and an ELU router. Now, ELU is a very good brand and it's a very good router, much better than the little Chinese trim router that I already have. So I want to keep this router table with the router in it, but I really don't have the room for this as well as the WorkMATE. Now, this router was given to me by a friend who bought it off of a neighbour after they'd passed away about 30 years ago. He was moving all of his woodwork to lighter hand tools and small power tools and was very pleased that I'd be able to make use of this router table. So I need to come up with a solution that will allow me to use this router table without it actually taking up any room in the workshop. And I have a cunning plan for how I'm going to achieve this. This magic trick I need to perform is going to require me to remove the table from its base and the legs, so I won't be able to reuse the cabinet or the legs that the table's sitting on. There are 10 of these nuts and bolts to remove to separate the legs from the tabletop. One of the things this came with but was never fitted was a height adjuster knob, so I'm going to fit that now. So when I was inside trying to work out exactly how I would do this, it hadn't occurred to me to use the bench dogs that come with the WorkMATE to hold it in place. So I think what I'm going to do is simply use a couple of bench dogs here. I'll create some new dog holes here and here, and then these can slot in there, and then I can just use the front jaw to tighten it to hold it in place. That will work for this. I've already checked that I can get to the height adjuster. I also still want to be able to use this as a workbench, so I've got some more work to do to achieve that goal as well. Now, I was thinking that I could make some upside down tray type thing or a lid that fits exactly the size of the WorkMATE, so that I've still got a nice bench to use that would protect the router table below. But that gives me a problem, and the problem is I've learned from long experience that the more time it takes to set stuff up, the less likely it is that you'll actually use the tool. So I want to be able to just lift whatever I make, whatever surface I create, I want to be able to take that off and the router table be ready to go. The problem with this approach, of course, is the router table isn't ready to go because I still need to put the fence on, the feather boards and so on. So I need to come up with a different solution. So my plan is to build the workbench top so that it clears all of the fence underneath. Now this will make the whole workbench far too tall for me really, but this WorkMATE is currently on its extended legs, so if I fold those legs away, it'll bring it back to pretty much the height it was originally at. So I was originally thinking I'd have a box that literally just covered the router table that I could just lift off. Now I'm thinking that's going to be incredibly heavy. It'd be better to make a framework with a top on it so that it had open sides, and that would make it a bit lighter to lift off. It was these clamping jigs that first gave me this idea. I had used them just to prop the board up, just to get a feel for how tall the workbench would be. And that's when I thought that actually a frame might be better. These are old beech chair legs, and they've got a bit of a kink at the top, so I cut that off first, and then I cut them all to the same length using the flagstop. Watch through to the very end to hear my thoughts on how I'm going to add additional functionality to this in future videos. I've made a start on the frame. It connects to the WorkMATE using dogs into the dog holes on the WorkMATE, and I'm ready to cut out the board that's going to be the top. Now this board typically doesn't have any square sides, so I've drawn out the shape it needs to be cut, and I'll cut that out on the bandsaw. I start cutting it out on the bandsaw and immediately have second thoughts, and therefore I decide to use the panel saw instead. There's an old adage, if it doesn't feel right, stop, rethink and try something else. So this has been a great project. It turns out that the height of this is exactly the same as the old WorkMATE was, and it's exactly the same as my other workbench. And if I want to use the router table, it's a very quick operation. All I have to do is lift this top off. And it's ready to use immediately as a router table. And if I want to adjust the height, I can always extend the legs on the WorkMATE. Now you might have noticed that I've lost the use of my woodworking vise. So that is going to be a future project. I'm going to fit the woodworking vise into this top piece so that it doesn't get in the way of the router table, but is still completely functional as a wood vise. And the other thing I want to do is fit this NVR switch so that I've got easy access to turning the router on and off. So that'll be a modification of my Power Buddy extension lead, and I'll follow that up with another video. If you've enjoyed this video and you want to watch the upcoming videos, then please leave me a thumbs up and subscribe. If you know anyone that might be interested in modifying their WorkMATE in a similar way, then please share it with them, and I'll see you in my next video. Thanks for watching.